Good afternoon. I'm Alex Nevidomsky. I'm head of one of the teams in Huawei's R&D center in Russia. We belong to the Consumer Business Group, one of the three major business units at Huawei producing consumer electronics. And that is known for its phones in the first place. Although we make quite a lot of other good things, like headsets, for instance. The Consumer Business Group is a large organization, produces 1.5 million phones just in the first half of this year. It's quite a lot. But the main mission of CPG is to deliver state-of-the-art technology to the user. Our team is called CBG Hardware, and we develop algorithms for the hardware, including AI algorithms. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. A couple of words about myself. I started working as a programmer in 1994. So I've been in the industry for more than 25 years. Since then, I've done a lot of things. Did rendering algorithms. I was working Moscow State University. Spent 15 years in enterprise R&D, IBM Dublin Samsung Research Center, where I implemented AI, and now for the past 6 months I've been implementing AI in Huawei. What can I say about AI? We know that the acronym AI has become one of the most popular terms, so the speakers here have said lots of things about this acronym. And there's no doubt we'll all agree that AI is a loud-sounding term, but not very accurate in the specific context. We don't yet have a very good understanding of what the natural intelligence is all about. So we have a number of algorithms at our disposal. Nevertheless, there are people who believe that these algorithms are already a new fundamental technology, something to be compared with the steam engine. Is that so? I tend to agree with that. I believe we have every reason to believe so. A well-known economist, Eric Brynjolfsson, analyzed the key elements of how other disruptive technologies were entering human life in different ages. And it's very important to understand. He says that the steam engine, electrical instruments did not appear in day-to-day life overnight. And in terms of business, doing that was never an obvious solution from the outset. But in terms of the consumer, everything looked a bit strange as well. We are being told almost every day what benefits new technologies are going to promise us tomorrow. But the average consumer can't always say what these new technologies can help them with right now. Does it mean that AI is just hype, not linked to reality at all? And how does this exponential curve look at the current point in time? Let's take a look and try to address the question of what we already have. We know that it would be more accurate to speak about deep learning algorithms. We've been observing their development for the past 2 years. If you think about it's not a lot of time. Jürgen Schmidt-Huber, who spoke before me here, a well-known researcher, always insists on accurate attribution of achievement. But nevertheless, it makes sense to say that the first big push was given by the publication of AlexNet in 2012. The first mass interest of developers appeared at about that time. And this wasn't a long time ago, just 8 years. Of course, a few things have changed. Not much in some areas. There have been some changes in science, technology. Certain things started to look differently. But we would be happy to get some watermark, some benchmark against which we could compare the pace of change. We were talking about different application areas, surface solutions, smart cameras, the technology that's perhaps a perfect object for observation in natural environment is, of course, a smartphone. Without exaggeration, we can say that it follows us everywhere, implements all the major functions and features that a modern person needs. Let's take a look how this new technology feels itself on the phone. We can take a look at what is being called AI in apps. The first such apps appeared quite a long time. Some of them were quite funny. Others gained a lot of traction, but in most cases not for a long time. See, this app can draw goggles, transform a photo or create an avatar. It may be useful, but we can't say we're observing a radical change of the landscape. Does it mean that there was no real need for AI in the phone? If you believe so, you were not keeping track of what was happening behind the scenes. One of the most important features of a smartphone as a device is being able to take pictures. Some time ago, taking picture was a conscious effort. Everybody was saving the film and was selecting what to shoot and what not. And now we are just taking pictures without thinking. And if you take a look at the technology and what's happening around it, we'll see dramatic changes. The high ranks of Huawei phones in popular ratings are linked to the quality of the embedded algorithms. Those who know the digital camera, how it operates, know that it's a sophisticated multi-stage process. The details may vary, but most modern cameras start with making a quick series of frames which must be brought together. So the noise that the sensor generates must be deleted. The image comes as a patchwork of dots. It has to be transformed into the picture we want. All the three light components should be put in the same place. Color should be adjusted. Nobody wants to have blurring, motion blurring. This is a standard feature for all devices. The information can be taken from different frames and composed in a single picture. Some time ago, photographers took large pods with them everywhere. And today we're doing it just off the cuff. Whole books are written about each of these phases, and we see that these algorithms change and disappear and appear right in front of our eyes. In order to get a picture, modern picture processing system, or ISP, image processing system, have long switched to neural networks. These algorithms are already replacing all the classic algorithms. Ironically, we call classic algorithms that were developed only 15 to 20 years ago. The new algorithms allow doing something that the old ones couldn't do in principles. At the low level, it's still about color correction, noise reduction, and blurring. But an important feature is understanding the scene. A smartphone, at least a Huawei smartphone, can detect about 1,500 scenes from 25 large classes. Pictures are segmented. Each part is processed separately. The algorithms can identify the main object that you need to focus on when processing. Quite often, human face is such object. And at this moment, a new method class is invoked, specifically developed for face image processing. It's especially important for selfies, so popular today. You can think that stylizing or different effects is where the AI algorithms are focused, but it's not so. Even if we are not going to add a mustache to a face, it still involves an eye. So neural networks are trained. Tens of millions of training images are used to improve the operation of such networks. One of the hallmarks of Huawei is the quality of high zoom images. So AI algorithms are playing a large part here. They allow solving sophisticated inverse problems and, enhance information where it wasn't possible yesterday. And of course, you should think that this is only about image processing. Comparable shifts are happening with sound processing. New phones control noise much better, provide much higher fidelity with the voice. If you're following conference publication, you know the pace of change in the processing of human voice. One of landmark project for Huawei was the Cyberverse project that was announced last year. This technology allows you to take a phone from your pocket, zoom it on the outside world, and the phone will tell you which street you're in and add additional information about what's surrounding you. Of course, in order to do this, a lot of different algorithms is required. Just like with all other technologies, if you want to do it yourself, the entry threshold is quite high, at least in the beginning, but these barriers are disappearing quite fast. There are a lot of features that require special solutions. Now they're available out of the box. Here I can mention the Huawei ML SDK. So having downloaded these tools, you'll be able to run a whole range of algorithms, not even thinking about how they operate. You can find key points of a human face. You'll be able to recognize speech, texts, documents. There's recognition of facial. So 17 places in the world that can be recognized automatically, and it all can be done out of the box. Not everything will run direct on the device. Sometimes you'll need to send this information to the server. We are trying to make it run on the phone, but sometimes it's a unique solution that you will have a hard time fitting it. Like, for instance, a machine learning tool that will be working through your earbuds. But nevertheless, our goal is to make all these algorithms run right on the phone. So the main official recognition of these new technologies is the change of the smartphone hardware. In 2017, an event happened that showed the irreversible character of the changes. It was for the first time that a neural algorithm accelerator was included in the phone design. Kirin 1970, with a performance of almost 2 teraflops. That's a huge number, even today. So, for instance, after that, other vendors followed suit, and it won't be an exaggeration to say that what a smartphone user is holding in their hands in 2020 is an absolutely different device. An internal combustion engine-driven car at the beginning of last century looked a lot like a steam engine car, but everybody knows that it had very little in common. So I'd like to wrap up with showing you this well-known picture. A lot of people have seen these pictures, and if you haven't, you can find them on the internet. There are 13 years between these pictures. It shows the same street at the turn of the last century. And in the first picture, you can find one car among a lot of horse carriages. It's not easy. I put a red circle around it. But in the second picture, you'll find a hard time finding a horse among these cars. So I'm not sure people ever expected that change. New changes come in, without us noticing, but they fully change the picture very fast. We're trying to do to make it so that these new changes arrive at you as soon as possible. Thank you. Alexei, thank you very much for having explained such difficult things with such understandable terms. A really exciting presentation where you indeed gave answers in simple words to difficult questions. We have one question, and if I may get a quick comment from you. So what's in store for us in 8 years in this area, according to you? It's actually not an easy question. Changes are happening at such a fast pace, so sometimes it's practically impossible to predict. We know that Moore's law is still in effect. We can assess the computing power of the system that we're going to be holding in our hands in 8 years. It will probably be about 6 to 8 times as performant as what we're dealing with today. It'll be able to recognize and generate speech and images right on the device, but to predict in which business processes it's going to be used is more difficult. Maybe we'll see something exciting that we can't even predict today.